This rotten ingredient changed my whole garden. Complete YouTube script. Part 1. The Hook and Discovery, 0 o'clock to 1:15. What if I told you that the nastiest, most disgusting thing in your kitchen could turn your dying garden into an absolute paradise? I'm talking about something so rotten, you'd normally throw it straight in the trash without even thinking about it. But 3 months ago, I discovered this game-changing secret that completely transformed my backyard from what looked like a plant graveyard into something that looks like it belongs in a fancy gardening magazine. I'm talking about banana peels. Yeah, those slimy, brown, absolutely disgusting banana peels that you peel off your morning banana and immediately want to get rid of because they smell terrible and look even worse. But here's the crazy thing. I was literally about to give up on gardening completely and accept that I was just terrible at keeping plants alive. My tomatoes were dying right in front of my eyes, turning yellow and dropping their leaves no matter what I tried. My herbs looked absolutely pathetic, like they were begging me to put them out of their misery. My pepper plants hadn't produced a single pepper in 3 months, and honestly, I was completely convinced that I had the worst black thumb in the entire world. I'd tried every fertilizer at the garden center, followed every YouTube tutorial, read every gardening book I could find, and nothing was working. I was spending hundreds of dollars on fancy plant foods and organic fertilizers, and my plants just kept getting worse. My family was making jokes about how I could kill a plastic plant, and I was starting to believe them. I'd walk outside every morning hoping to see some improvement, and instead I'd find more dead leaves and smaller, sadder-looking plants. Then my neighbor Sarah, who has this absolutely incredible garden that makes everyone in the neighborhood stop and stare with jealousy, finally took pity on me and let me in on her secret. This woman grows tomatoes the size of softballs, has herbs so lush they look fake, and produces enough vegetables to feed her entire extended family. People drive by her house just to look at her garden. She told me she takes her rotten banana peels, does this one weird thing with them, and creates what she calls garden gold. I thought she was completely crazy at first because banana peels are gross and smelly and definitely not something you'd want anywhere near food you're planning to eat. But I was desperate enough to try absolutely anything at that point. So I started collecting every single banana peel from my house, which was actually a lot since my kids eat bananas for breakfast almost every day. My family thought I'd completely lost my mind because I had this container sitting on my kitchen counter filled with the grossest looking peels you've ever seen. Some were completely black and mushy, some had weird fuzzy mold growing on them, and they smelled absolutely terrible, like a garbage can in summer heat. My husband kept asking when I was going to throw them away, and my kids refused to go near the kitchen counter. But I kept collecting them because my neighbor Sarah had promised me results that seemed way too good to be true. And at that point, I had nothing left to lose. Part 2. The Method and Science, 1:15 to 2:30. Here's exactly what I did step by step, and why it works so incredibly well that it completely blew my mind. Banana peels are absolutely packed with potassium, phosphorus, and calcium. These are the exact nutrients that plants desperately crave, especially when they're trying to grow strong, healthy roots and produce those amazing fruits and vegetables we all want. But here's what nobody tells you about banana peels. The more rotten they get, the better they actually work. Those black, disgusting, smelly peels that make you want to gag? They're breaking down and becoming more nutrient-dense every single day they sit there rotting. My first method was the direct burial technique, and let me tell you, it felt really weird at first. I took those absolutely disgusting rotten peels and buried them directly around my tomato plants. I'm talking about digging small holes about 4 inches deep and 6 inches away from the main stem, dropping in pieces of banana peel, and covering them back up with soil. The decomposition process starts working immediately underground. Bacteria and earthworms start breaking down those peels right away, and it slowly releases all those incredible nutrients directly to the root system where plants can actually use them. It's like having a slow-release fertilizer that costs absolutely nothing. But then Sarah showed me something even better that changed everything. She taught me how to make banana peel water, which sounds completely gross, but stick with me here because the results are absolutely insane. I chopped up about 5 really rotten banana peels, the blacker and mushier the better, and put them in a mason jar filled with water. Then I let this mixture sit for exactly 2 weeks in my garage. Yeah, it smelled like actual death, and it looked absolutely disgusting with all these floating bits of decomposed banana and this weird brown murky color that looked like dirty pond water. My husband threatened to throw it away multiple times because the smell was so bad. But when I finally strained out all the solid pieces and used just the liquid to water my plants, something absolutely magical started happening that I couldn't believe with my own eyes. Within just 1 week, I could see brand new growth appearing everywhere I looked. My tomato plants started getting these thick, vibrant green stems, and tiny flower buds began popping up all over the place. The science behind this is actually pretty straightforward once you understand it. When banana peels decompose in water, they release massive amounts of potassium, which helps plants develop incredibly strong cell walls and makes them naturally resistant to diseases and pests. The phosphorus supports serious root development and encourages heavy flower and fruit production. And the calcium prevents common problems like blossom end rot in tomatoes and peppers, which had been completely destroying my crops every single year no matter what I tried. What really shocked me was learning that banana peels contain more nutrients than most expensive fertilizers you can buy at the store. We're literally throwing away garden gold every single day without even realizing it. Part 3. The transformation and results, 2:30 to 3:45. You guys, I'm not even exaggerating when I say the results completely blew my mind and changed everything I thought I knew about gardening. After just 3 weeks of using these rotten banana peels, my garden looked like a completely different place that I barely recognized. I'm talking about a transformation so dramatic that I thought I was looking at someone else's yard. Remember those sad, pathetic, dying tomato plants I showed you at the beginning? The ones with yellow leaves that were dropping off and stems so weak they could barely hold themselves up? They turned into these absolutely massive, bushy plants covered in bright red tomatoes that were bigger than anything I'd ever grown before. I counted over 40 tomatoes on just one plant, and they were the most delicious, juicy tomatoes my family had ever tasted. My basil plants were probably the most shocking transformation of all. These plants were literally dying and had these yellow, droopy leaves that made them look like they belonged in a plant hospital. I was honestly planning to pull them up and throw them away because they looked so hopeless. But after 3 weeks of banana peel treatment, they suddenly exploded with new growth that seemed to happen overnight. I'm talking about going from plants I was ready to give up on to having so much fresh basil that I was making homemade pesto every single week and giving away bags of fresh herbs to all my neighbors. The leaves were thick, bright green, and so fragrant that you could smell them from across the yard. But the real shock that made me realize this wasn't just luck came with my pepper plants. I had planted bell peppers and hot peppers at the very beginning of the growing season, and they had been just sitting there doing absolutely nothing for months. No flowers, no peppers, barely any new leaves. They were like garden decorations that weren't even decorative. After I started using the banana peel method consistently, these plants went completely crazy in the best possible way. They started producing flowers like mad, and then those flowers turned into the most beautiful peppers I'd ever seen. I ended up harvesting over 50 peppers from just 4 plants, and they were the biggest, most colorful, most perfect peppers I'd ever grown in my entire life. The best part about this whole discovery is that this method costs basically nothing, except the time it takes to collect peels instead of throwing them away. Instead of tossing banana peels in the trash like I used to do automatically, I was turning what most people consider kitchen waste into actual garden gold that worked better than anything I'd ever bought. I sat down and calculated that I saved over $200 on fertilizers, plant food, and soil amendments, plus I was getting way better results than any expensive product I'd tried before. My plants were healthier, more productive, and more beautiful than they'd ever been, and it didn't cost me a single penny extra. My neighbors started stopping by and asking me what I was doing differently because my garden looked so incredible compared to everyone else's on the street. Part 4. Advanced Tips and Expansion. Now let me share some advanced techniques I discovered through trial and error that made my results even more incredible than I thought was possible. These are the game-changing tips that took my garden from amazing to absolutely mind-blowing, and I wish someone had told me about them from the very beginning. First, timing matters way more than you think, and getting this right can double your results. The absolute best time to apply banana peels is right after you water your plants thoroughly, when the soil is already completely moist and ready to absorb nutrients. This helps the decomposition process start much faster and prevents the peels from just sitting there on top of dry soil attracting flies and other pests that you definitely don't want in your garden. I also discovered that mixing banana peels with used coffee grounds creates this incredible supercharged fertilizer that plants go absolutely crazy for. Coffee grounds add nitrogen to the mix, which perfectly balances out all that potassium from the bananas. I started collecting coffee grounds from my local coffee shop every week, And here's the amazing part. They actually give them away completely free to gardeners because they're happy to have someone take them off their hands. Here's another complete game changer that I stumbled onto by accident. Banana peel foliar spray. I blend up really rotten banana peels with water in my regular kitchen blender. Strain the mixture through cheesecloth to remove all the chunky bits, and put the liquid in a spray bottle. When I spray this directly on plant leaves early in the morning, it gives plants an immediate nutrient boost that you can literally see working within just a few days. For my flower garden, I discovered something that completely shocked me. Roses absolutely love banana peels more than any other plant I've tried. I bury chopped up banana peels around my rose bushes every single month, and they now produce more blooms than I've ever seen before in my life. The flowers are bigger, more colorful, smell more fragrant, and they last way longer after I cut them to bring inside. The coolest part that made me feel like a real scientist was watching the decomposition process happen in real time. When you bury banana peels in your garden, you can actually see earthworms start gathering in those exact areas within just a few days. These earthworms break down the banana peels even faster than they would decompose naturally, and they leave behind incredibly rich worm castings that plants absolutely love more than any fertilizer you can buy. I've expanded this method to my entire property now, and the transformation has been unbelievable. My vegetable garden, all my flower beds, even my houseplants get regular banana peel treatments. I have friends and family members who started doing this after seeing my incredible results, and they're all getting the same amazing transformations in their own gardens. This one simple change took my garden from complete failure to having the best looking yard in my entire neighborhood, and it can absolutely do the same thing for you. Those rotten banana peels you're throwing away right now are actually garden gold, just waiting to transform your plants into something truly amazing.